where the heartbeat of this comes from. Knew of it. We came a few times, bought a few animals, but it wasn't in the level it is now. And here's where it comes from. My mama got diagnosed with cancer about 9 years ago. And she had, we knew it was going to be terminal. She only had a little time to live. God first blessed us with a doctor that went in, opened her up, and took all the cancer out and extended at least another year and a half of her life. And so we had 2.5 years with her diagnosis, and they were cherishable. My mama, when she passed, at that moment, she had 7 kids, I think 37 grandkids. And then it's in the 50s now, I think. And so, but what my daddy asked her is, what would you like to do with the funds that we've made? Where do you want to spend your last money? Alaska trip was one. I wish I could have made the trip at that time in my job. I couldn't take off. But they went with Larry and Amy and Eddie and Carrie and some of the family. They went to Alaska. I think they blew money like crazy. I think they were just throwing money in the water no, I'm just kidding. And she said, the last money I want to spend that I know that I get the heartbeat of it is the FFA program. She said, those people have blessed my grandkids. So I want to go bless a kid. And let's go, honey, let's go buy the Grand Champion steer. She didn't know that moment it was going to be $27,000, almost $30,000 to do that. But that was her heart. So it was a heartbeat. Well, it wasn't that long. Here they go. A pig comes up. Hey, baby, yeah, we can hit that number. Maybe the steer won't be that bad. Well, Rosewood family at that time bought it every year. And they didn't know that. And I think it went for $27,000, $28,000, something like that. So she didn't get her complete wish to buy the Grand Champion. She went and bought the reserve Grand Champion steer that day. But they did. They bought the steer. Dad called me, and Larry set it up to go to Goins Meat Market. And they said, hey, you want to jump in on this meat and get half of it? I said, yeah, that sounds good. And I did not know that when I got my freezer and my mom and dad's freezer, that in a few months, that the way we cooked that steer, and if it was your steer, I apologize, but it was good. Got Mama's house, and I had an instinct, and God sort of put on my heart that days were soon. And I stayed with them a couple nights. My team and everybody around me knew that I was going to spend any second I could with my mom. And the year before, it was 365 days they gave me, and I started the program. I said, Mama, if I got 365 days, and they said within a year, I'm going to see you every day of your life. And she goes, no, you're not, son. You got to work. And for 2 weeks straight, I found my mom. I had some inside information. My brother David one time said, hey, she's over at a Mexican restaurant. I went over there and found her again, and on the about 14th, 15th day, she set me down at the restaurant. Honey, you can't keep doing this. You're driving a long ways to see me. I said, Mama, I'm going to spend every day with you. And she said, baby, you're reminding me of my diagnosis. And I said, Mom, I'm so sorry. I did not know that. And so I was chilled out a little bit, and here it is 3 or 4 months later. And then she's getting sicker. And she says, you know what, I miss you doing that every day. And I said, all right, here I come back. And it wasn't that long after the day was coming. And see, we all have a day. And our days were numbered. And it was her time. A couple of days before, I got to spend the night with her, sleeping with them and just hanging out. And that morning, I got up, got in the freezer, and I started smoking a brisket on Dad's pit and was grilling some food. And I didn't know that meat was last day of my mom, and I didn't know I was cooking for my friends and family coming over to see my mom. The hospice just came in that night and was going to stay the night with her, starting that night, and they said it'll be about 2 weeks, and we lost her that day. And I did not know that food was going to feed everybody coming. God put it on my heart to do it. Here comes February. That was July 14th as my mom passed. Here comes February the next year, and I knew for sure that we were going to jump aboard of this heartbeat, of this FFA program. And so numbers are important to me, and that was on the 70th. That was 7 years ago, and now we're on the 77th. And so those numbers 7, look it up in the Word. Those are pretty special. I was at table number 7 today too. It was pretty cool. So when we got this award, I said, man, I don't deserve that. And the kids that came, some of y'all are in here now, and they came to my Bible. I had a Bible study going on at work, and there's a bunch of men in there, and FFA kids come, and they started just rattling off these things about some person, and they were in there, and I thought Dick Polk was part of it, and I was like, Stephen was in, I was like, okay, well, we were probably doing something with them, that's great. And the more they said, the more I was like, oh no, I think that's about me. And I just started weeping and crying. And it wasn't, the award is wonderful, but just in May, this was October, just like Stacy said, in May, God made it clear to me that I was going to be spreading his good news at the Humble Civic Center this year somehow, some way. I actually texted Todd and CJ in May, and I said, boys, we're going to be spreading the gospel at the Humble Civic Center, and I don't know how, but we are. And then that day, October 17 to 18, when they gave me the award, I texted both of them, and I said, boys, we got to weigh in. Here it is, and I don't deserve it. And here it is. Stacy said, man, 3 years I've been trying to get this to happen. We thought we were going to be at the Civic Center, and God blessed it with this United City. Just, oh my goodness, who's all here from United City? You guys have opened up the red carpet in a way that I didn't even know existed. I am so grateful. Guys, like he said, this was 2 weeks ago. They said yes, and they have made it so smooth. And so some of the unorganized things, Sweetie Zoe, they didn't get her application, the little mess ups you see here and there, I'll be honest with you, I'm shocked that's all that's happened. I'm pretty unorganized. But what God did do is that heartbeat he started in May, he said, I'm going to make a way. And so as I started calling folks, from my pastor and to other people, they said, yes, 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 yes. I wrote down the rest of my testimony to stay on top of it because I tend to talk a little too long. And we're going to try to stay on course because it is a school night. 2 key words tonight you're going to hear has been hope, and then you heard about a heartbeat. The dictionary explains the word hope is a feeling of expectation, a desire for a certain thing to happen, a person or thing that may help or save someone. Their only hope is surgery, someone might have. Some of you have probably heard that in this room. Grounds for believing something that good may happen. He does see some hope for the future, maybe something somebody says. Hope is a feeling of trust. It's clinging to a mere possibility, just a possibility. One thing might be happening is they were hoping against hope they would find a way out. Hope is to want something to happen or to be true and usually have a good reason to think that it might. Hope is an optimistic state of mind that is based on an expectation of positive outcomes with respect to events and circumstances in one's life or the world at large. Some of y'all were hoping for a scholarship, and God bless us with everybody got a little something tonight. And so we're hopefully grateful that we were able to do that. One thing about you kids, every one of y'all, 55 kids, you are attached to this night. This is the first annual. We believe with all of our heart, this is the first annual, and it's for years to come. God will keep this thing going way past my. That's why today, if you're at the deal, I wanted to thank the heartbeats. So I think some of the depths of some of the names of the rodeo. So tonight starts this event, and again, it's not us. Again, it started in the heart 3 years ago with Stacy and his wife. But tonight, you 55 kids, I can tell y'all this. Me and Todd, as y'all are growing through your life, not just us, there's other men and women in this community that we're going to be praying for you. And we're a phone call away. As you get to the next level or you're looking for something, I mean, we don't want you to come begging in every day, but at the end of the day, is you got opportunities and movements and you need some assistance and maybe just some wisdom. It won't be me. I'll find somebody that's smart, though. But we're a phone call away. We'd like to see y'all succeed. Y'all can call us in a few years and say, hey, here's some cool things that's happened. When y'all go through some hardships, give us a call, please. Now my testimony. Back on March 25th, 2000. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Some of you people are dating it back. That day I had no hope. Now that night's a different story, but that day I had no hope. Hope showed up that night. I've had it for 24 years. Let's backtrack now 10 years prior to that, at the age of 14 years old. I had what we'd call a defining moment. Some of you kids in here has had the same. I think most of us can say that. I always wanted to go with my brothers and sisters, and a couple of them are in the room, so if you're mad at me for saying this, get over it. You're the one that did it, so I'm just kidding. It wasn't your fault, and that's what the whole point of the story is. I always wanted to go with my brothers and sisters out to have fun on the weekend, so that night my dad said I could go, and we're supposed to go bowling. Well, he had asked me to let him know how the night was. I think he sent me out sort of as a spy. I know he did, actually. That was the truth of that night. Guess what? We didn't go bowling. We went to a party, and I had my first opportunity to drink alcohol. It was called a strawberry wine cooler. Do they still make those? If any of you kids say yes, I'm going to be talking to y'all afterwards. My sisters and brothers watched me turn it up, and I'm not joking. As I turned it up, about to bring it down, I had a couple of them say, "We'll tell on you if you tell on us." And I said, "Well, that coming, I can't tell on y'all. Give me another." Well, that night started a lie. I went home that night. The problem was they said bowling. That's the stupidest, dumbest thing I've ever heard, because I was on a bowling league and my dad is all about bowling. So I had to go home and put together 3 scores, how many strikes I laid out, and I had to put a plan together because Dad wasn't going to say, "Son, good night." He was going to say, "Son, how was your bowling? How many did you lay out?" That means, turkey, however many strikes you got. So I had to put a plan together. So here I go, and I told him, you don't talk to my dad without looking him straight in the eye. And I squared him up, and I was able to do it. It's a pretty good lie. That night, I dealt with some things, and I said, "No, I'm not going to listen to that." The problem was, at that point, I enjoyed sin so much that I just carried it on to everybody. My job, my first marriage. If you're a liar, you know what I'm talking about when I say I need help carrying on the lies in my heart. So I drank a lot. I had a fake ID at 18 years old, and I looked like a kid. I don't know how they believed it, but I had a fake ID, said I was 18. I had the authority as a general manager at Jiffy Lube at 18 years old. I took my authority to a man that was 20-something. He had a couple issues in his life. He had to work there, and one of my employees said, "Man, he looks just like you." So I said, "Hey, man, why don't you lie to your parents and give me your ID?" And he did. And I had an ID that had his information, but it was my face. And I took that all over. I looked to the left. I looked to the right. People did worse than I did. And Satan said, "Oh, you're all right." And I just kept on carrying lies because, that's what happens when you start doing sin. You go, "Oh, I'm not as bad as that guy." And so I drank a lot. Satan was always lying to me. He would say, "At least you're not as bad as him." Then I had no control over my lust of the eyes. I was heavy into this thing that now y'all have more access than I did, called pornography. It just breaks my heart. And I had access to it at 14 years old. One of my worst sins was I was built to be a leader, and I was leading everyone around me straight to hell. Whatever felt good, I just did it. I was searching for peace and joy in things, but never found it. See, some of you kids might think that I'm a strict parent, and now you're getting a little better idea why, because I've been there and done it, and I don't want my kids to run down the same road I did. Now, back on March 25, 2000, I was soon to be a dad. My baby, Devin, she's in the room tonight. Where are you at, sweetie? There she is. She was due to be born in June, so back on this March 25th, 2000, I knew she was coming. I was trying to get the place ready. I knew I couldn't bring her into this disgusting world of lies and deceit, a filthy place to raise a kid in, so I knew I had to change. I've been trying on my own since I found out she was coming. I couldn't do it on my own. My world around me was crashing because of my lifestyle. I was having problems at work and major problems at home, but most of my problems were in my heart. I had no peace, no joy, no hope. Like I said, that evening, hope showed up. Thank God hope showed up. The bad part, and I'm sorry if this offends any parents or kids in here, but this is the reality. I was looking on a computer screen with really bad stuff on it. then I started getting a feeling that this was wrong to look at. My conscience said it was wrong and I shouldn't be doing this, but I had been looking at this stuff for 10 years. It was a way of life for me. But I had been trying to do things better since I was about to become a dad. I already stopped drinking within a couple months. I just cut it out. But this other thing, I couldn't cut it out. My eyes and everything about me enjoyed it. I turned my head away from the computer screen, but then I had a pull, and I wanted to look at it again. And it was in that moment a decision had to be made. That week, I had asked God to help me. I've already been asking him. The Lord said to me to stop my wickedness on that moment. I went a few days, and that night, I'll never forget, he said, stop now and repent. He made it clear that if I didn't change my ways that night, that little girl I hadn't met yet would not be protected and could even show up on that computer screen I'd like to see. So it was the love that I had for my daughter coming that stirred my heart for change, but it was the love my Heavenly Father had for me that changed my heart that night and gave me this hope and we're talking about. He gave me peace and joy. He gave me a way out of hell. Once that decision was made, here comes the consequences. I lived a bad life. Here comes my sins. They're coming to haunt me like I was always told. But here's the thing. Where I came from past sins, due to that, I lost everything that I built in my life. The next day, I lost my wife. The next day, I lost my job. I lost all my friends. Within a week's time, I lost everything I built. But that peace and joy didn't leave me. See, he promised it that night. I asked him, and I said, Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry. Lord, please forgive me. And I'm telling you, when I got on my knees that night and I asked him, I didn't go to bed that night. There were so many sins in this heart. Every time I said, Lord, in this one, please, and Lord, this one, he released them. It says in the word that he'll release them as far as the east is from the west. That happened that night. But they don't stop my consequences. They're coming. I lost everything, and it was deserving. One thing that did happen, though, I didn't run from him no more. I used to lie like crazy. He took the line from me the next morning. I was ready because, see, once I got forgiven, I'd done something that could have put me in prison. I was ready to tell the judge. I was thinking, Lord, am I supposed to go tell the judge what I did and go put them in prison for a minute? I mean, literally, I was ready because once he forgave me, it don't matter what men said. It was clear. I didn't want to run no more. See, I didn't run from nothing anymore because when I ran to Jesus, there ain't no more running. He has held me in his arms for almost 24 years. There's much more to the testimony. God blessed me with my wife, 20 years, 4 more babies. Where's the rest of my wife at? Jill, Daron, 4 more kids. I've got 5 beautiful, wonderful kids. Do I live a perfect life? Absolutely not. See, it's sin in this world. But do I love? I love because I've been loved. See, I've got a wonderful dad and wonderful family. But as good as my daddy is, I'll never forget 6 months after I was saved, I called my dad and said, Dad, you won't believe what's happening. I'm not worried about what's in the alcohol and beer no more, and I don't do that stuff. But it ain't because you were coming over. It's because I'm more worried about what God thinks about me than you. It was the best phone call I ever made to my dad, and he appreciated it. That I cared more about what Jesus did than even him. And kids, when y'all do that one day, you're going to know that you know, and it's beautiful whenever you're worried about God more than anyone. I'm a people pleaser, and so I try to please people all the time, and I've learned I can't do that. But tonight was a night that when that award came to me, I didn't think I deserved it. But God already told me this was coming. And so if you think there's accidents, there's not. You were supposed to be here right now. There's someone in this room need to hear this testimony. And we got something special on top of that. I got some friends that want to give their testimony as well. And so y'all enjoy the rest of the night. If anybody wants to come find me, I'm available. But I'm going to tell you when you get done, I don't know if we've announced it yet. But after this is touching to you, it's going to be told one more time. But in that back room right there, there's been some prayer going on. And when the team was called together, there is a ton of folks in here that know your story. And they're ready. So you can go to that back room back there as soon as you're ready. There's counselors ready for you. But y'all enjoy.